On April 9, 2021, DMX died at the age of 50. The last years of his life were like a roller coaster ride: legal troubles, engagement, struggle with addiction, and a planned comeback to the music scene. Today, we remember the rocky path of Earl Simmons, one of the most charismatic rappers in history. So let's begin. Earl Simmons was born in the small town of Mount Vernon, New York. He grew up in an incomplete family. His father left them when he was still young. As is common with stories of that time, the future performer was not well behaved and was a real gangster. He had legal troubles, and in total he went to jail more than 15 times. Perhaps his troubled family was to blame. His mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and the lack of money forced her to send her son to a boarding school. The young MC's career started not in his hometown. Earl performed in Yonkers, a much bigger city than Mount Vernon. Like any rapper, he needed a stage name. Earl Simmons took the name from the Oberheim DMX drum machine. Later, the performer put his own meaning into the name and decoded it as Darkman X. By the age of 22, his first track, The Born Loser, was played on the radio. 5 years later, DMX signed a contract with the label Def Jam Recordings, and in 1998 his single Get At Me Dog was released, which became a hit and reached 39th place on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. After the death of the notorious Big, many rappers and critics noted that the streets were leaving hip-hop and the genre was increasingly dominated by commercialism. DMX was the one who brought the authenticity back to the culture. In 1998, 27-year-old Earl released his first full-length album, It's Dark and Hell Is Hot. It was explosive, 4 million copies sold, topping the Billboard chart and positive reviews from critics. DMX was unlike any other popular rapper of that period. He had a bold flow and a dirty sound, and the huskiness of his voice made him instantly recognizable. Amid the popularity of DMX, he decided to try himself as an actor and began appearing in movies. He can be seen in films such as Exit Wounds, Cradle to the Grave, and Romeo Must Die. However, not everything was smooth in the rapper's career. In 2003, he recorded his 5th studio album, Grand Champ. DMX announced that it would be his last album, after which he remained quiet for 3 years. During this period, he focused on his family and dealt with a conflict with Def Jam Records. Later in 2016, DMX revealed that he turned down a contract from Puff Daddy, which was twice the amount offered by Def Jam.
Now I know.
In 2005, DMX performed in Moscow, Russia, for a regular party celebrating the club's anniversary, not a solo concert for thousands of people. The rapper performed his greatest hits of that time with a backing track. Later, the famous Russian rapper Timati spoke about this concert. According to him, it was very difficult, and DMX was a very unusual artist. They had no contract, and the concert was paid unofficially. Overall, the performance took place, but there were many organizational difficulties. In 2008, photographer Matt Salacuse spent an entire day with rapper DMX. Less than a day was enough to showcase the performer's charm as well as his demons. To better understand what kind of person DMX was, the situation of that day fits perfectly. As we were walking back to the car, DMX told me, "To talk to people, you have to be among them." We drove around the block and saw a 2-story building, social housing, in front of which 30 people of different ages were sitting in chairs and relaxing. DMX sped up and, screeching his tires, stopped the car a few inches away from the group of guys sitting on a large blue cooler. DMX got out of the car and immediately started barking, "How you doing? How you doing?" raising his hands up. Confusion quickly turned to delight as people surrounded him, hugged him, and asked for autographs. Here's another quote. On the way back on 95 towards South Beach, he floored it up to 220 kilometers per age. "I buckled my seatbelt. That thing's gonna kill you before it saves your life," he said. I asked him why. "If you buckle up, you might never be able to get that belt off again," he said, adding that the lock could melt in case of an accident and you wouldn't be able to open it. The night ended with the police chasing us down the highway, DMX eluding them by pulling into a parking lot where we spent the next 2 hours talking about hip-hop and my New Balance sneakers, which amused the rapper greatly. DMX reminded me of Buns, the character from the movie Belly he played. He was a man who didn't respect the law but wanted to live righteously, a man who had met his demons but still had to overcome them. In December of that same year, DMX was arrested at the home of famous producer Scott Storch in Miami for drug possession, document forgery, and animal cruelty. After 90 days, in May 2009, he was released. However, his time in prison was not without incident, as he once threw a tray of food at a prison officer, which was deemed an assault. He could have faced an additional 8 years in prison for this. A year later, the rapper was arrested for violating his probation by failing to report to a police officer. The court decided to transfer DMX to a psychiatric hospital. He was then imprisoned for tax evasion and given a year of strict regime. After this, his career rapidly declined due to a number of crazy stories in his biography. His last film, Death Toll, was released in 2008 and was panned by critics, receiving extremely low ratings. His last album, Undisputed, was released in 2012, but did not gain much popularity among listeners.
Lord, if you hear me, know that I'm coming to you sincerely. I need you near me. Please feel me.
Just 3 years ago, DMX was released from prison once again. After that, he announced that he had cancelled a number of planned performances and sought help at a rehabilitation center due to drug problems. This was not the rapper's first visit to a rehabilitation center, as he had previously undergone treatment in 2017. An official statement from DMX's representatives reads as follows: in light of DMX's promise to first and foremost maintain sobriety and care for his family, he has voluntarily checked himself into a rehab facility. He apologizes for cancelled shows and thanks his fans for their constant support. After everything he went through, the musician tried to return to his former shape and regain his past popularity. DMX performed a number of major concerts, appeared in Bad Barbie's music video, and re-signed with Def Jam to release a new album. Last year, the musician announced that he would return to acting and play a detective in a movie about a serial killer. In addition, he became popular on TikTok.
What must I go through to show you shit is real? And I ain't really never gave a fuck how niggas feel. Rob.
It seemed like everything was going well, but drugs appeared in DMX's life again. The final chapter of this story was a week-long struggle for the musician's life in the ICU. Many famous personalities around the world paid tribute to the legend of world hip-hop. Soon after his death, it became known that DMX had managed to record a new album, Exodus, before his passing.
Y'all ain't made enough. Shit pop off. We don't blow it up till we blow it up. Cats better slow it up.
And that's all for today. What do you think about DMX? Write your opinion in the comments, like and subscribe to the channel. Bye for now.